My name is Kira Whitman. I'm 31 years old. 5 days before Thanksgiving, my mother called to tell me not to come to dinner. Not because of a fight. Not because I did something wrong. Because my brother Evan asked her to uninvite me. He said my job would embarrass him in front of his new girlfriend. I'm a general contractor. I build homes. I manage crews. I show up to job sites at 6 in the morning with sawdust in my hair and concrete dust on my boots. Evan works at Bank of America headquarters in Charlotte. He wears a suit. He talks about portfolio optimization. My mother said, "You understand, don't you, honey? It's important to Evan." I said, "I understand." I didn't tell her what I actually do. I didn't tell her about the company. I didn't tell her that in 5 days, everything she thought she knew about me would shatter in front of 280 people. They didn't know that the construction worker they were ashamed of had just been nominated for Contractor of the Year. And what they found out next would make them realize their biggest mistake wasn't uninviting me to Thanksgiving. It was never asking what I'd built in the first place. The pattern started 10 years ago. I was 21, sitting at the kitchen table in my parents' house in South Charlotte, the same table where we'd eaten Sunday dinners my entire childhood. My father was reading The Observer. My mother was doing the crossword. Evan was texting someone, probably a girl from his econ class at UNC Charlotte. I said, "I'm not going back to community college. I'm enrolling in trade school." My mother's pen stopped mid-letter. My father looked up from the sports section. "Trade school," my mother repeated. Not a question, a diagnosis. "Carpentry and general contracting," I said. "I start in January." The silence lasted maybe 5 seconds. It felt like an hour. My mother said, "Diane's daughter just got into the pre-med program at Duke. Linda's son is doing his MBA." Not, "That's interesting." Not, "Tell me more." Not, "Why do you want to do that?" Just, "Other people's children are doing better things." My father folded his paper. "Kira, that's hard work. Physical work. You're a smart girl. You could—" "I want to build things," I said. Evan looked up from his phone. "You're gonna be like a construction worker? Seriously?" My mother touched my hand. "Honey, we just want you to have an easier life than we did." She'd been a secretary at a law firm for 23 years. My father worked in logistics at a furniture distributor. They'd worked hard. They'd pushed us toward college, toward white-collar jobs, toward what they called respectable careers. I said, "This is what I want." My mother smiled, the smile that meant she was disappointed but didn't want to fight. "Well, we'll support you, of course." But support, I learned, has conditions. Over the next 10 years, they asked Evan about his job every Sunday. Every single one. "How's the bank? Did you get that promotion? What's your 401k match looking like? Are they sending you to the conference in Atlanta?" They asked me, "How's work?" Not, "What project are you on?" Not, "What are you building?" Just, "How's work?" The same way you'd ask someone how the weather is. Polite, disinterested. A box to check before moving on to Evan's quarterly review. When I got my general contractor's license at 24, I told them at Sunday dinner. My mother said, "That's nice, honey," and asked Evan if he'd heard back about his promotion. When I started my own company at 26, Whitman Build and Design, LLC, registered with the state, official letterhead, business insurance, the whole thing. I told them at Sunday dinner. My father said, "That's a big step." My mother said, "Just be careful, honey. Small businesses are risky." Then she asked Evan about his dental benefits. I stopped bringing it up after year 2. I stopped waiting for them to ask. But I kept building anyway. By year 5, Whitman Build had completed 68 projects. We employed 19 people. Last year, we brought in $2.1 million in revenue. I personally cleared $195,000 after payroll and expenses. Evan made $72,000 at the bank. But every Sunday, my mother asked him about his job. And every Sunday, she asked me, "How's work?" I stopped waiting for them to ask. I built anyway. The call came on November 18th. It was 7:43 on a Thursday night. I'd just walked in the door from a job site in Dilworth. A bungalow renovation, original hardwood floors we were refinishing, crown molding we were restoring by hand. My Carhartt jacket still smelled like sawdust and polyurethane. There was drywall dust on my jeans. I saw Mom's name on the screen and almost didn't answer. Thursday wasn't a calling day. We talked Sundays, and even then it was usually short. "Hey, Mom." "Hi, sweetie." Her voice had that careful tone, the one she used when she was about to say something she didn't want to say. "How are you?" "Good. Just got home." "What's up?" A pause. I heard her take a breath. "So, Thanksgiving," she said. "We need to talk about Thanksgiving." I set my keys on the counter. "Okay." "Evan's bringing someone this year. His girlfriend Natalie. It's the first time he's introducing her to the family and well, he's nervous." I waited. He asked if maybe, this year, it could just be the immediate family. You know, him, Natalie, me, and Dad. Keep it small, intimate, less pressure. I still didn't say anything. I was trying to process what I was hearing. "Kira? I am immediate family," I said. "I know, honey. I know. But Evan feels like he just wants to make a good impression. And he's worried that what?" Another pause. Longer this time. "He said your job might be a little awkward to explain to Natalie." The words landed like a slap. "My job," I repeated. "He didn't mean it that way, sweetie. Natalie's very professional. She works in design, and Evan's trying to present a certain image, and I don't fit that image." "Kira, don't be like that." "What did he say, Mom?" "Exactly." She hesitated. He said, you're a construction worker, and Natalie's family is very traditional, and he doesn't want her to think we're, you know, blue collar," I said. "He didn't say that, but that's what he meant." My mother sighed. "Honey, you understand, don't you? It's important to Evan. This girl might be the one. He just wants everything to go smoothly." I looked down at my hands. There was grime under my fingernails, a blister on my palm from carrying 2x4s. I was tired. I'd been on site since 6 that morning. "So I'm uninvited," I said quietly. "It's just this year. Next year." "It's fine, Mom." "Kira, I understand." And I did. I understood exactly what this was. "Thank you for being so mature about this," my mother said, relief flooding her voice. "I knew you'd understand. We'll do something, just us. Another weekend. Maybe brunch?" "Sure," I said. We said goodbye. I hung up. I stood there in my kitchen, still wearing my jacket, still smelling like pine and drywall, and I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stood there, wondering when I'd become the thing my family needed to hide. Outside, the temperature had dropped to 52 degrees. Through the window, I could see oak leaves falling in the streetlight. It was almost Thanksgiving. almost the season for gratitude. I took off my jacket and hung it by the door. The fabric was stiff with dried sweat and dust. My work boots sat beneath it, scuffed and salt-stained. This is who I am, I thought, and it wasn't enough. They never asked. So I never told them that every Sunday, while Evan talked about his quarterly performance review and his matched 401k contributions, I was out earning him 3-1. I never told them about the company, not the real company, not what it had become. Year 1, the beginning, started Whitman Build and Design in May of 2020. I was 26 years old. I'd been working as a project manager for Davidson Construction for 3 years. I was good at my job. I knew how to read plans. I knew how to manage subs. I knew how to talk to clients and keep them calm when the permit got delayed or the tile they wanted was back ordered for 6 weeks. But I wanted more. I wanted to build something that was mine. So I registered the LLC, filed the paperwork, got the insurance, $2 million in liability coverage, which cost me $4,800 a year and made me nauseous to write the check. I bought a used white Dodge Ram for $38,500, paid in cash from money I'd saved over 4 years. I had the company logo made, simple, clean, professional, and got it put on the truck door. Small, subtle. Just the name and a phone number. At Sunday dinner, I told my parents. I started a company, I said. Whitman Build and Design. Residential renovations. My father looked up from his mashed potatoes. Your own company? Yeah. My mother smiled. That's nice, honey. It's a big step, my father said. Just be careful. Most small businesses fail in the first 5 years. I know, I said. Evan said, so you're like a contractor now? Do you have employees? Not yet. Just me. He nodded, already losing interest. Cool. My mother turned to him. Evan, did you hear back about that team lead position? And just like that, we moved on. Year 2. Proving ground. By the end of year 2, I'd completed 14 projects. Small stuff mostly. Kitchen remodels, bathroom renovations, a sunroom addition in Myers Park that came in under budget and got me a 5-star Google review that brought in 3 more clients. I hired my first employee, Miguel Santos. He was 42, a Finnish carpenter who'd worked in residential construction for 20 years. He was better at trim work than anyone I'd ever seen. I told my parents at Sunday dinner. I hired someone, I said. Miguel. He's a carpenter. That's great, honey, my mother said. That's really great. Then she asked Evan about his department restructure. Year 3. The breakthrough. Year 3, I landed my first big contract. $120,000. A full gut renovation of a 1920s craftsman in Dilworth. Original hardwood floors, original windows, a kitchen that hadn't been updated since 1976. I was terrified. I was also ready. The project took 4 months. We came in on time and $8,000 under budget. The clients cried when we handed them the keys. They referred me to 2 of their friends. By the end of year 3, I had 6 employees. Revenue, $860,000. I didn't tell my parents the numbers. I just said, company's doing well. My mother said, that's wonderful, honey. My father said, just make sure you're saving for retirement. Evan said, I got approved for the company Amex, $15,000 limit. My mother, that's amazing, Evan. Year 4, expansion. Year 4, I hired a project manager, an electrician, 2 more carpenters, and a part-time bookkeeper. I moved out of my apartment and bought a small house in Plaza Midwood. 1,500 square feet. Needed work. I renovated it myself over 6 months. New kitchen, new bathroom, refinished the floors, painted every wall. I paid $218,000 for it. It appraised at $295,000 after the renovation. My parents came to see it once. My mother said, "It's cute, honey. A little small, but cute." My father said, "You did all this yourself?" "Most of it," I said. Miguel helped with the hardwood. My mother looked at the kitchen. "It's very modern." We didn't stay long. Year 5, present day. This year, 2025, Whitman Build is projected to bring in $2.8 million in revenue. We have 19 employees, 8 active projects, 68 completed projects in our portfolio. Our average project value is $85,000. Our biggest project to date is $340,000. A historic home renovation in Myers Park. Original structure from 1912. The client wanted to preserve every original detail while updating the electric, the plumbing, the HVAC. It's a balancing act. It's delicate work. It's the kind of project that gets you noticed. I hired an interior designer for it, someone I'd heard good things about from a supplier. Her name was Natalie Cross. She worked for a firm called Cross and Associates Design. I sent her an email in July. "Hi, Natalie. I'm Kira Whitman, owner of Whitman Build and Design. We're starting a historic renovation project in Myers Park, $340,000 scope, and I'd love to bring in a designer who understands period-appropriate interiors. Carolina Lumber recommended you. Would you be available for a call next week? Best, K. Whitman." She replied within 2 hours. "Kira, I'd love to discuss the project. I have availability Tuesday at 10 a.m. or Thursday at 2 p.m. Looking forward to connecting." Natalie Cross and Associates Design. We met at the site on July 12th. She showed up in a linen blazer and ankle boots, carrying a leather portfolio. She was 28, professional, sharp. She walked through the house with me, took notes, asked smart questions about load-bearing walls and original molding profiles, and whether we were keeping the pocket doors. "I love this project," she said, standing in the living room, looking up at the original coffered ceiling. "This is the kind of work I got into design for." "Good," I said, "because I need someone who cares as much as I do." We signed the contract 2 weeks later. $28,500 for design services. She didn't ask to meet me in person first. She didn't ask about my background. She saw K. Whitman, owner, on the emails and the contract, and that was enough. On site, I wore jeans and a t-shirt and steel-toed boots. I carried a tape measure and a clipboard. I directed the crew. She probably assumed I was a site supervisor, maybe a project manager. She didn't ask, and I didn't correct her. In early September, we were on site together, talking about the kitchen layout. She mentioned casually that she'd started dating someone. "That's great," I said, not really listening. I was looking at the cabinet specs. "He works in finance," she said. "At Bank of America, actually. Downtown." "Nice," I said. I didn't ask his name. Professional boundaries. It wasn't my business. She didn't offer. And I didn't know, not then, that the boyfriend she was talking about was Evan. I didn't know that when Evan talked about me, he called me my sister who works in construction. I didn't know that he told her I was kind of the black sheep. I didn't know that Natalie, when she heard works in construction, pictured someone in a hard hat carrying supplies, not someone signing her $28,000 paycheck. They never asked, so they never knew. And that silence, that decade of not asking, not seeing, not caring to look closer, was about to shatter in the worst possible way. Natalie Cross had no idea she was dating my brother, and I had no idea my brother was dating my designer. The math, in hindsight, was obvious. Natalie started working with me in July. She started dating someone in finance in late August. By November, she was serious enough about him that he was bringing her home for Thanksgiving. But I didn't connect the dots. Why would I? I didn't talk to Evan about my projects. I didn't talk to Evan much at all, honestly. Our conversations at Sunday dinners were surface level, polite. He asked how work was. I said fine. I asked about the bank. He said fine. We ate pot roast and moved on. And Natalie was a professional contact. We talked about tile selections and paint colors and whether the original sconces in the dining room could be rewired or if we needed replicas. We didn't talk about our personal lives. So when Evan told my mother he was bringing his girlfriend Natalie to Thanksgiving, I didn't react to the name. Natalie's a common name. And when my mother uninvited me because Evan didn't want his girlfriend to know his sister was a construction worker, I didn't think about the designer I'd hired. I just thought about the fact that my own family was ashamed of me. But Natalie knew something was off. She told me later, weeks later, after everything exploded, that Evan had been weird about his family from the beginning. He never wanted to talk about you, she said. When I asked about his sister, he'd say, she works in construction, and then change the subject. I thought maybe you two weren't close, or maybe there was some family drama he didn't want to get into. She didn't push. Why would she? It was early in the relationship. Everyone has family stuff. But when Evan invited her to Thanksgiving, she said yes. She was excited. She wanted to meet the people who mattered to him. He seemed nervous, she told me. He kept saying he wanted everything to be perfect. He said his parents were traditional, and he wanted to make a good impression. I thought he was just anxious about me meeting them. She didn't know he'd asked them to uninvite me. She didn't know I existed as anything other than the sister who works in construction. And she definitely didn't know that Kay Whitman, the contractor whose email she answered, whose checks she deposited, whose job site she visited twice a week, was that sister. Not yet. On November 21st, 3 days before Thanksgiving, Natalie was on site at the Myers Park house. We were finalizing the paint colors for the upstairs bedrooms. She'd brought sample cards, 8 different shades of cream and white, because historic homes require that level of specificity. We were standing in the primary bedroom, holding the cards up to the light, when her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and smiled. Sorry, she said. My boyfriend. He's excited about Thanksgiving. That's sweet, I said, not really paying attention. I was looking at the sample labeled Original White and trying to figure out if it was too stark. It's his first time introducing me to his parents, she said. He's nervous. I'm sure it'll be fine, I said. She laughed. I hope so. He keeps talking about how his family is low-key and he doesn't want to overwhelm me, which makes me think they're definitely not low-key. I smiled. Families are complicated? Yeah, she said. She put her phone away. Anyway, I think the Navajo white works better than the original white. It's warmer, more period appropriate. Agreed, I said. And that was it. 2 days later, my mother called and uninvited me to Thanksgiving. And 3 days after that, Natalie Cross walked into the Ballantine Hotel for the Charlotte Home Builders Association annual awards. She walked in as Evan's girlfriend, and she saw me accept an award as Kira Whitman, owner of Whitman Build and Design. That's when the dots connected. That's when everything fell apart. Thanksgiving Day was Thursday, November 23rd. I woke up at 5:30 in the morning, same as always. The house was quiet, cold. I made coffee in my French press, black, no sugar, and stood at the kitchen window, watching the sky lighten over the neighborhood. 58 degrees outside, clear. The oak trees in the yard were half bare, leaves scattered across the grass like rust-colored confetti. It was Thanksgiving, and I had nowhere to go. I thought about calling a friend. I thought about finding a restaurant that was open, sitting at the bar, ordering turkey and mashed potatoes like it was just another Thursday. Instead, I got dressed in my work clothes, jeans, a thermal shirt, my Carhartt jacket, and drove to the Dilworth job site, the bungalow renovation. We were almost done. Just trim work left, and some final touches on the refinished floors. The client wanted to move in by December 1st, and we were on track. I parked in the driveway at 6:45. The street was quiet. Everyone else was home, probably still asleep, or starting to prep their turkeys. I unlocked the door and went inside. The house smelled like fresh paint and sawdust. The floors gleamed, honey-colored and smooth. We'd done good work here, the kind of work that would last 50 years. I spent the morning finishing the baseboards in the living room. Caulking, sanding, painting, detail work. The kind of thing that requires focus, patience, steady hands. I worked until 3 in the afternoon. Then I sat on the front porch, ate leftover Thai food I'd picked up the night before, $18.40 for pad see ew and spring rolls, and watched the sun slant through the trees. My phone buzzed. A text from Evan. Happy Thanksgiving. I stared at it for a long time. He didn't say, wish you were here. He didn't say, I'm sorry. Just, Happy Thanksgiving. I didn't reply. I finished my food, threw the container in the trash, locked up the job site, and drove home. The neighborhood was full of cars. Families gathered in living rooms, visible through lit windows. Laughter, warmth, belonging. I went inside my house, took a shower, put on sweatpants, and sat on the couch with my laptop. I answered emails. I reviewed the schedule for next week. I updated the budget spreadsheet for the Myers Park project. At 8:30, I closed the laptop and went to bed. I didn't feel sorry for myself. I felt free. For the first time in 10 years, I wasn't performing for them. I wasn't sitting at a table, pretending it didn't hurt when they asked Evan about his 401k match and asked me, how's work? I wasn't there, and I was fine. Better than fine. I was building something they couldn't see, and I didn't need them to see it anymore. But in 5 days, they'd see it anyway. The Charlotte Home Builders Association annual awards took place on Tuesday, November 28th, at the Ballantine Hotel and Conference Center. I arrived at 6:15. The parking lot was already half full. I recognized trucks from other contractors, sedans from suppliers, a few luxury cars that probably belonged to architects and developers. I parked my white Dodge Ram in the back row and sat there for a minute. Engine running, heat blasting. I was wearing a black suit, a white blouse. Heels I'd bought specifically for this event and had worn exactly once before, at a client meeting 6 months ago. My hair was down, straightened, falling just past my shoulders. I looked at myself in the rearview mirror. I looked like someone else. Not the woman in steel-toed boots and a hard hat. Not the woman with sawdust in her hair and drywall dust on her jeans. I looked professional, polished, respectable. I hated that I cared, but I did. I turned off the engine, grabbed my purse, and walked toward the hotel. The lobby was bright and loud. People clustered in groups, talking, laughing. I saw Jim Bradshaw from Bradshaw Electric, the company we subcontracted for most of our projects. He waved. I waved back. I checked in at the registration table. The woman behind the table, mid-50s, reading glasses on a chain, found my name on the list and handed me a name tag. Kira Whitman. Whitman Build and Design. Nominee. Good luck tonight, she said, smiling. Thanks, I said. I pinned the name tag to my jacket and walked into the ballroom. The room was massive. Round tables draped in white tablecloths, centerpieces of burgundy and gold flowers, a stage at the front with a podium and a screen displaying the CHBA logo. I found my table, table 12. The nominees table. There were 5 other people already seated. I recognized 2 of them, contractors I'd met at networking events over the years. We exchanged pleasantries. Someone made a joke about the rubbery chicken we were probably about to eat. Everyone laughed. I sat down and glanced at the program booklet on my plate. Charlotte Home Builders Association Annual Awards Gala, November 28th, 2025 inside. There was a list of categories. Contractor of the Year. Under 35 was on page 4. 3 nominees. I was one of them. I'd known I was nominated for 2 months. The email had come in September. I'd read it 3 times. Sure, I'd misunderstood. But I hadn't. Someone had nominated me. The board had reviewed the submissions, and I'd made the cut. I hadn't told my parents. I hadn't told anyone, really, except Miguel, who'd hugged me so hard he'd lifted me off the ground. Now, sitting here in this ballroom with 280 people, I felt the weight of it. This was real. I was here. I looked across the room, scanning the tables, recognizing faces. Suppliers, architects, city officials, bank representatives in suits, here because their companies sponsored the event. And then I saw them. Table 23, 40 feet from the stage, clear sightline. Evan, my mother, my father, and Natalie. My breath stopped. Evan was wearing a navy suit. My mother was in a burgundy dress I'd never seen before. My father looked uncomfortable in a tie. And Natalie was in a black cocktail dress, hair pulled back, smiling at something Evan was saying. They were here. Evan worked for Bank of America. B of A was one of the event sponsors. He must have gotten tickets. Brought Natalie. Brought our parents to impress her. They had no idea I was here. I turned back to my table, heart pounding. This was about to get very, very complicated. Dinner was served at 6:45. Rubbery chicken, as predicted. Mashed potatoes. Green beans. A roll that could double as a doorstop. I ate because I needed something to do with my hands. At table 23, I could see my family talking, laughing. My mother touched Natalie's arm, said something that made Natalie smile. My father nodded along. Evan looked proud. This was what he wanted. His girlfriend, charmed by his family. His parents, impressed by his professional life, his connections, his ability to get tickets to an event like this. None of them looked my way. Why would they? At 7:15, the MC took the stage. A woman in her 50s, president of the CHBA, wearing a red dress and a confident smile. "Good evening, everyone," she said, and the room quieted. "Welcome to the Charlotte Home Builders Association Annual Awards. We're so glad you're here tonight to celebrate the incredible work happening in our community." Applause. She went through the welcome remarks, thanked the sponsors. Bank of America got a shout out, and I saw Evan straighten in his seat, looking pleased. Then she said, "We have a wonderful lineup of awards tonight, recognizing excellence in residential construction, design, and community impact. But first, let's start with one of our most exciting categories, Contractor of the Year, under 35. My hands went cold. At table 23, Natalie leaned forward, interested. She was a designer. This category mattered to her. The MC continued. This award recognizes a contractor who has demonstrated exceptional growth, quality craftsmanship, and client satisfaction, all before the age of 35. This year's nominees have shown incredible dedication to their craft. A slide appeared on the screen behind her. 3 names. Daniel Pritchard, Pritchard Renovations; Kira Whitman, Whitman Build and Design; Sam Greenberg, Greenberg Custom Homes. My name, on the screen, 40 feet from my family. At table 23, Natalie froze. I watched her eyes go wide. I watched her lean closer to the screen, like she needed to make sure she was reading it right. Then she grabbed her program booklet, flipped to page 4, read the description. Kira Whitman, owner of Whitman Build and Design, has completed 68 residential projects in 5 years, with an average client satisfaction rating of 4.9 stars. Her company employs 19 full-time staff and is projected to reach $2.8 million in revenue this year. Whitman is known for her meticulous project management and commitment to preserving historic architecture. Natalie's hand went to her mouth. She turned to Evan. I couldn't hear what she said, but I saw her point at the screen. I saw Evan's face go from confused to shocked. He followed her finger, saw my name. His face drained of color. My mother noticed. What's wrong? I saw her mouth the words. Natalie pointed again. At the screen. At the program. My mother looked. And then she saw it too. Kira Whitman. Whitman Build and Design. Her hand flew to her chest. My father turned, following their gaze. He saw the screen. Saw my name. His face went blank. At table 12, I sat perfectly still. The MC was still talking. The selection criteria for this award include revenue growth of at least 150% over 3 years, exemplary client satisfaction, and demonstrated community impact. This year's winner has exceeded all expectations. She paused, smiled, opened the envelope in her hand. This year's Contractor of the Year, under 35, is Kira Whitman, Whitman Build and Design. The room erupted in applause. A spotlight hit me. I stood. My legs felt like water, but I stood. My table erupted. Colleagues clapping. Someone squeezing my shoulder. Jim Bradshaw from Bradshaw Electric giving me a thumbs up from 3 tables over. I walked toward the stage, 20 seconds, maybe 30, maybe the longest walk of my life. I passed table 23. I let myself look. Just for a second. My mother's champagne glass was halfway to her lips, frozen. My father's face was blank. Processing. Evan looked like he'd been slapped. And Natalie. Natalie was staring at them. not me, watching their reactions, watching the pieces fall into place. I climbed the stairs to the stage. The MC handed me the award. Crystal. Heavy. Real. She shook my hand. Congratulations, she said, and stepped aside. The microphone was in front of me. 280 people were looking at me. I took a breath. I kept it short. I kept it professional. I didn't look at table 23. Thank you, I said, and my voice came out steady, stronger than I felt. This is an incredible honor. 5 years ago, I started Whitman Build with a truck, a tool belt, and a belief that good work speaks for itself. Today, we've built 68 homes. We employ 19 people, and we've proven that if you show up, do the work, and respect the craft, the rest takes care of itself. I paused. Let the weight of that settle. To everyone who believed in what we could build, even when it wasn't visible yet, thank you. I let that line land, even when it wasn't visible yet. I wasn't looking at my family, but I felt them hear it. I stepped back from the microphone. Applause. Louder this time. The MC returned, took the microphone, started talking about the next category. I walked off the stage, carrying my award, and returned to my table. Someone handed me a glass of champagne. Someone else said, "You deserve this." I smiled, said thank you, sat down. My phone was on the table, face down. It buzzed. I flipped it over. A text from an unknown number. "We need to talk." Mom, I put the phone back down. Not yet. Cocktail hour started at 8. The awards were over. People milled around, drinks in hand, conversations buzzing. I was talking to Mike Hensley, an electrician I'd worked with on 3 projects, when I saw my mother approaching. She was walking fast. My father was behind her, looking uncertain. Evan and Natalie were still at the table. "Kira," my mother said, and her voice was tight, controlled. "We had no idea you'd be here." Mike glanced between us, sensing tension. "I'll catch you later, Kira. Congrats again." "Thanks, Mike," I said. He left. My mother stood in front of me, clutching her purse like a shield. "We had no idea," she said again. "That's correct," I said. My voice was calm, cold. "You didn't." My father stepped forward. "Kira, why didn't you tell us about this? About the nomination?" I looked at him. 10 years of Sunday dinners, 10 years of housework, 10 years of asking Evan about his 401k and his quarterly reviews and his dental benefits. "I did tell you," I said quietly. 5 years ago. I told you I started a company. You said, 'That's nice, honey,' and asked Evan about his promotion." My mother's face flushed. "But this is a real company. This is—" "What did you think I did?" I asked. "Sweep floors?" Silence. My father opened his mouth, closed it. My mother's eyes were shiny. Her mascara was smudged at the corners. "Excuse me," I said. "I need to thank my sponsors." I walked past them. I made it 5 steps before I heard Evan's voice. "Kira, wait." He caught up to me near the coat check, grabbed my elbow. I stopped, turned. "Don't touch me," I said quietly. He let go, held up his hands. "I didn't know," he said. "I didn't know it was this big. You never asked. You never said—" "I did, Evan. I told you. I told Mom and Dad. I told you at Sunday dinners. You just didn't listen." His face was red, angry, defensive. "You always showed up in work clothes," he said. "You never talked about clients or projects or—" Because you never listened, I said, and my voice was still calm, but there was steel underneath it now. Every Sunday, Mom asked about your job, your bonuses, your benefits. When did anyone ask about mine? You could have said something. I did. Every time I showed up with sawdust in my hair. Every time I tried to talk about a project and you changed the subject. I said it, Evan. You just didn't want to hear it. He ran a hand through his hair, looked away. Natalie won't even look at me now, he said quietly. That's not my problem. You're really going to hold this against me? I stared at him. My little brother, 28 years old, standing here in his navy suit, looking like a child who'd been caught doing something wrong. You uninvited me to Thanksgiving, I said, and my voice was very quiet now, because my job embarrassed you. My job. The job that pays 3 times what you make. The job I built from nothing. Yeah, Evan. I'm going to hold that. His jaw tightened. Kira, we're done here, I said. I walked away. Behind me, I heard him say my name one more time. I didn't turn around. I made it to the bar before Natalie found me. Kira. I turned. She was standing there, hands clasped in front of her, looking miserable. Can we talk? She said. Alone? I glanced past her. Evan was back at the table, talking to my parents. All 3 of them looked shell-shocked. Sure, I said. We walked to a quieter corner of the lobby, near the windows overlooking the parking lot. Natalie took a breath. I'm so sorry, she said. For what? For not connecting the dots. For not realizing Kay Whitman was you. For... She stopped, shook her head. God, I feel like an idiot. You didn't know, I said. I should have. I saw you on job sites. I knew you were competent, professional. I should have asked more questions. I just assumed that I was an employee, I said, not the owner. She nodded, looking ashamed. It's fine, I said, and I meant it. You're not the first person to make that assumption. She looked at me. He lied to me. Or he didn't know. I'm not sure which is worse. What did he say? I asked. About me. What did Evan say? She hesitated. Please, I said. I need to know. She took a breath. He called you the family embarrassment, she said quietly. He said you'd never amount to anything, that you were jealous of him, that you resented his success. The words hit like fists. I didn't react. I kept my face neutral, but inside, something cracked. Natalie continued. When I heard construction worker, I pictured someone, I don't know, someone on a crew, someone carrying supplies, not someone signing my paychecks. She pulled something out of her purse, a business card, handed it to me. When you're ready to talk about the Morrison project, she said, call me. Professional only. I'm done with Evan. I took the card, embossed, cream-colored, heavy stock, Natalie Cross and Associates design. Thank you, I said. She nodded. You deserve this award. You deserved it 5 years ago. And I'm sorry it took this long for anyone to see it. She walked away. I stood there, holding her card, watching her disappear into the ballroom. Then I turned and walked toward the exit. I made it to the lobby before my mother caught me. Kira, please. I stopped, turned. She was standing there, my father beside her, both of them looking small and lost. Can we take you to dinner? My mother asked. To celebrate? I looked at her, really looked at her. She was 63 years old. She'd worked as a secretary for 23 years, watching men with less skill get promoted over her. She'd pushed us toward white-collar jobs because she thought it meant safety, security, respect. She'd wanted us to have an easier life than she did, and in doing that, she'd missed the life I'd actually built. No, I said quietly, but thank you for asking, for the first time. Her face crumpled. My father reached for her hand. I looked at both of them. 10 years of Sunday dinners. 10 years of dismissal, wrapped in politeness. And now, standing here in the lobby of the Ballantine Hotel, they finally saw me. But it was too late for tonight. I need to go, I said. I walked past them, through the lobby, out the doors, into the November night. The air was cold. 46 degrees. I could see my breath. I walked to my truck, got in, set the award on the passenger seat, started the engine. The dashboard lights glowed. The heater kicked on. I sat there for a minute, hands on the wheel, looking at the crystal trophy beside me. Contractor of the Year. Under 35, Kira Whitman. They'd spent 5 years not seeing me. Tonight, I made sure they couldn't look away. The first email came 3 days later, Sunday morning, December 1st, 6:23 a.m. I was in bed, half asleep, when my phone buzzed on the nightstand. I picked it up, squinting at the screen. An email from my father. Subject: We owe you an apology. I sat up, opened it. Kira, I've been trying to write this for 3 days. There's no good way to say it. We failed you. We assumed. We dismissed. We never asked what you were building because we were afraid it wouldn't fit the picture we had in our heads. We were wrong. I watched you walk across that stage on Tuesday night, and I realized I don't know my own daughter. I don't know what you've built. I don't know what you've accomplished. And that's on me. I'm ashamed we made you feel invisible. I'm proud of you. I should have said that 5 years ago. Dad, I read it 3 times. The signature got me. Dad. Not Robert. Not R. Whitman. Dad. He hadn't signed an email that way in 5 years. I set the phone down, stared at the ceiling. My chest felt tight. At 10:15, my mother texted, "Can we talk? In person?" I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, "Coffee. Thursday. Morning grounds. 9 a.m." She replied immediately, "I'll be there." At 2 in the afternoon, my voicemail notification lit up. Evan. I almost deleted it without listening, but I didn't. I pressed play. His voice came through, shaky, uncertain. "Kira, it's me. I know you don't want to talk to me right now. I don't blame you. I need to say this. I didn't know. I should have known. I should have asked. I should have paid attention. But I didn't. I was so focused on looking successful that I didn't see you were already more successful than I'll ever be. Natalie broke up with me. She said I showed her who I really am. And she's right. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know if you'll ever forgive me, but I needed to say it. I'm sorry." The message ended. 4 minutes? 18 seconds. I listened to it twice. Then I set the phone down and went back to work. Thursday morning, December 8th. Morning Grounds Cafe. Brick walls, Edison bulbs, the smell of espresso and cinnamon rolls. I got there at 8:50, ordered a black coffee, no sugar, found a table by the window. My mother arrived at 8:58. She was wearing a gray sweater, jeans, minimal makeup. She looked tired. She saw me and walked over. "Hi, honey," she said quietly. "Hi, Mom." She sat down, set her purse on the floor. A barista appeared. "Can I get you anything?" My mother glanced at my coffee. "Black coffee. No sugar." The barista left. My mother looked at me. "You still drink it that way?" "Yeah." I should have remembered that. Silence. The barista brought her coffee. My mother wrapped her hands around the cup, like she needed something to hold on to. "Thank you for meeting me," she said. I nodded. "I don't know where to start," she said. "Start with why?" I said. She looked confused. "Why what?" "Why you never asked. Why you dismissed it every time I tried to tell you. Why you let Evan uninvite me to Thanksgiving." She flinched, took a breath. "I wanted you to have an easier life than I did," she said quietly. "I waited. I worked as a secretary for 23 years," she continued. "I watched men with half my skill get promoted. I watched women like me get stuck answering phones and filing paperwork while everyone else moved up. I wanted you to have more than that. I wanted you to have respect, a career, security. I have all of that," I said. "I know." Her voice cracked. "I know that now. But when you said you were going to trade school, all I could think was, she's going to struggle the way I did. I thought construction was, I thought it was hard labor, low pay, no respect. I didn't think it could be what you made it." "Because you never looked," I said. She nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Kira. I dismissed you. I made you feel small. And I didn't even realize I was doing it." I looked out the window, watched a car pull into the parking lot. A woman got out, carrying a toddler on her hip. "I needed you to be proud of me," I said quietly. "Not proud of what I became despite you. Proud of the work, the actual work." "I am now," she said. "Does that count?" I turned back to her, looked at her face, the lines around her eyes, the gray in her hair, the way her hands shook, just slightly, as she held her coffee. "I don't know yet," I said honestly. She nodded. "That's fair." We sat in silence for a minute. Then I said, "I'll come to Christmas." Her head snapped up. "You will?" "On one condition." "Anything." "If anyone, you, Dad, Evan, makes a joke about my job, I'm leaving. If anyone dismisses it, or minimizes it, or acts like it's less than what Evan does, I'm leaving. And I won't come back." She swallowed hard. "Okay. And I'm not going to dress different or talk different to make you comfortable. This is who I am. If you can't accept that, tell me now." "I accept it," she said quickly. "I do, Kira. I'm sorry it took so long." I nodded. "And I'm bringing someone," I said. Her eyes lit up. "A boyfriend?" "Miguel, my lead carpenter. He doesn't have family here. He's been with me since year one." Her face flickered. Surprise. Maybe disappointment. But she nodded. "Okay," she said. "We'd love to have him." We finished our coffee. 47 minutes, start to finish. When we stood to leave, she hugged me. I let her. Over the next 2 weeks, I set the terms. I sent an email to my parents. Simple. Clear. I'm willing to rebuild this relationship, but it has to be different. From now on, 1. If you want me at family events, ask me at least 2 weeks in advance. Respect my answer, even if it's no. 2. If you want to know about my work, ask. But don't ask to check a box. Ask because you actually care. 3. I will not perform success for you. I will not change who I am to make you comfortable. If you can agree to these terms, I'll see you at Christmas. Kira. My father replied first. Agreed. We'll do better. My mother replied an hour later. Thank you for giving us another chance. Evan sent a separate email. Can I call you? I replied. Not yet. Maybe in a few months. He wrote back. I understand. I didn't hear from him again. Christmas fell on a Thursday. I drove to my parents' house at noon. Miguel in the passenger seat. He was nervous. You sure about this? No, I said, but we're doing it anyway. He laughed. We pulled into the driveway. My parents' house looked the same as always. Lights on the porch, a wreath on the door. My father's truck parked on the street. We went inside. My mother answered the door. She smiled, genuine, warm, and hugged me. Merry Christmas, honey. Merry Christmas, Mom. She turned to Miguel. You must be Miguel. I'm Catherine. Come in. Come in. Miguel shook her hand. Thank you for having me, Mrs. Whitman. Please, call me Catherine. Inside, the house smelled like ham and cinnamon rolls. My father was in the living room, setting up folding chairs. Evan was on the couch, scrolling his phone. He looked up when I walked in. Our eyes met. He didn't smile, didn't say anything, just nodded. I nodded back. We sat down to dinner at 7 people. My parents, Evan, me, Miguel, my Uncle Dan, my Aunt Cheryl. The ham was good. The mashed potatoes were lumpy, the way my mother always made them. Halfway through the meal, my father said, Kira, how's the Morrison project coming? I looked at him. He was asking. Actually asking. Good, I said. We're finishing the kitchen this week. The client wants to move in by mid-January. That's the historic home in Myers Park, right? My mother asked. Yeah. I'd love to see it sometime, she said. If that's okay. I paused. Yeah, I said. I'd like that. Evan was quiet through most of dinner. He didn't make eye contact, didn't contribute much to the conversation. At 3 o'clock I stood up. We're heading out, I said. My mother looked surprised. Already? Yeah. Miguel and I have plans tonight. It wasn't true, but I needed to leave on my terms. My mother walked me to the door. Thank you for coming, she said quietly. Thank you for asking about the project, I said. She smiled, hugged me. I hugged her back. Miguel and I drove home. That wasn't so bad, he said. No, I said. It wasn't. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. June 2026. I was standing in the shell of a new build in South Park, hard hat on, clipboard in hand, watching the framers set the last load-bearing wall. The project was a big one, $410,000, custom built for a couple relocating from New York. They wanted modern farmhouse, clean lines, open floor plan, floor-to-ceiling windows in the living room. We'd broken ground in March. The framing was ahead of schedule. Miguel walked up beside me, adjusting his tool belt. Looking good, he said. Yeah, I said. We're on track. The clients arrived at 10:30, a couple in their 40s, accompanied by their realtor, a sharp woman in her 50s who'd referred them to me. Kira, the realtor called, waving. How's it looking? Right on schedule, I said. The clients walked through, asking questions, taking photos. The wife stopped in the future living room, looking out at the view. This is going to be stunning, she said. Wait until the windows are in, I said. You'll love it. As they were leaving, I overheard the realtor talking to the husband. She's the best in Charlotte, the realtor said. My neighbor used her for a renovation last year. Worth every penny. I smiled, stayed on site until 4, then drove back to the office. Whitman Build and Design had moved into a real office space 6 months ago. Small, just 2 rooms, but it was ours. Inside, the walls were painted a soft gray. There was a conference table, a desk for the bookkeeper, a wall of project photos, and on the shelf by the window, the crystal trophy from November. Contractor of the Year. Under 35. It caught the afternoon light, refracting rainbows across the wall. I looked at it for a moment. Then I sat down at my desk and got back to work. My mother called on a Thursday in June. Not a Sunday. A Thursday. 2:15 in the afternoon. I answered. Hey, Mom. Hi, honey. How are you? Good. Just finished a site walk. What's up? Nothing urgent. I just wanted to hear your voice. I paused. Oh, how's the South Park project? She asked. Good. Framing's done. We're starting on plumbing and electric next week. That's wonderful. Your father was asking about it. He wanted to know if we could come see it sometime. Would that be okay? I looked out the window. The afternoon sun was slanting through the trees. Yeah, I said. I'd like that. We talked for 12 minutes. She asked real questions about the permits, the inspections, whether the clients were happy. I answered without guardedness. It felt strange, new, but good. I'll let you get back to work, she said finally. Love you, honey. Love you too, Mom. I hung up, sat there for a minute, phone in hand. Then I smiled. That evening, I sat in my truck in the office parking lot. Engine off, windows down. The sun was setting, pink and orange light spilling across the horizon. I could see the trophy on the shelf through the office window, crystal catching the last rays of light. I thought about Thanksgiving, 7 months ago, the phone call, the disinvitation, the quiet devastation of realizing my own family was ashamed of me. I thought about the award night, the look on their faces when my name was called, the moment everything shifted. I thought about the coffee with my mother, the emails from my father, the slow, careful rebuilding of something that had been broken for 10 years. They didn't fix everything. We weren't perfect. Evan and I still barely spoke. My parents still asked questions that revealed how little they understood about what I did, but they were trying, and that was enough. I used to think I was building houses. Turns out, I was building proof that I was worth listening to, worth seeing, worth asking about. I don't need to prove that anymore, but I'll keep building anyway, because I love it. And that's the part they're finally starting to understand. I started the truck. The radio kicked on. A country song about small towns and hard work. I pulled out of the parking lot and drove home. The odometer read 89,340 miles. The sun was setting behind me, painting the sky in shades of gold. My hands, calloused, strong, mine, rested easy on the wheel. They didn't invite me to Thanksgiving because they were ashamed. Now they ask when I'm coming over because they're proud. It took an award and a public reckoning to get there, but we got there, and that's enough.